They told me to close my eyes and think of the ocean. I opened them and saw myself sleeping. That was the first thing the study got wrong. The flyer promised 1 night, easy money, harmless monitoring. No needles, no drugs, just rest. I signed because rent was due and my sister's messages were getting shorter and more expensive. 30 minutes after the consent video, a woman in pale blue scrubs threaded electrodes through my hair and told me to breathe slow for her. The room was cool and quiet and smelled like lemon cleaner. Somewhere, a white noise machine faked the sound of rain. I counted each hiss like it was buying me another second of not thinking. Close your eyes, she said. If you wake, use the call button. If you hear your name, do not answer. The last rule was spoken like a joke that wasn't a joke. I let the weight of the blanket and the humming wires pin me in place. Breath smoothed out, thoughts thinned, edges blurred. I fell the way you fall when the floor politely steps aside. And then I opened my eyes in the same room, except the overhead light was too white and the rain was a recording of a recording. The window, which should have shown the parking lot, was blacked out from the other side. My body was on the bed, mouth slightly open, chest rising like a metronome someone forgot to stop. I was standing beside it, barefoot on the cold tile, wires trailing like leash lines that didn't reach me. It didn't feel like a dream. Dreams smear. This was lucid, bright around the edges, wrong in ways that lined up too neatly. The monitor over the bed displayed a word I hadn't seen during intake. Protocol Theta-Nine. ONSET. Underneath, a line of soft blue text scrolled by. Do not disturb the subject once consciousness is achieved. The call button dangled by the bed, its red plastic eye staring at the floor. I picked it up. It was glued shut. The cord ran into the wall and straight into a bundle of zip ties. They'd given me a button that never connected to anything. Shoes squeaked somewhere beyond the blackout glass. A man's voice floated through, flattened by a speaker. Subject 12 shows emergent awareness. Maintain posture. Do not engage directly. Another voice, lower, almost kind. If you're hearing this, you can ignore them. They think you're paralyzed inside REM. Keep your eyes closed when they look in. Read your left palm. My hand was inked faintly, like I'd written on myself hours ago and washed most of it off. 3 lines. Do not answer if the caller knows your first pet. Do not let them roll you onto your side. If you smell oranges, the air is lying. I didn't remember writing it. I remembered money, a clipboard, lemon cleaner. I remembered saying yes to a question I didn't fully hear. The speaker crackled. Begin phase A, the first voice said. The rain track cut out. A child's voice stood where the rain had been. It said my name the way only family could, full of marrow and buried summers. I kept my eyes on the false window and counted hisses that weren't there. The door latch clicked. Soft feet approached. Fingers pressed lightly against my wrist, timing my pulse. Someone leaned close enough that lemon cleaner burned my sinuses and whispered my dog's name into my ear. I smiled with my lips closed. The second rule burned like a brand. The hand left my wrist. The footsteps drifted back. The child stopped speaking. The rain returned, faker than before. The first voice sighed into the room like a draft through a door. Subject 12 is non-compliant. Initiate rotation. The bed's motor hummed. The blanket tightened at my shoulders as if hands I couldn't see had found purchase. The mattress tipped, slow and inevitable, turning me onto my side like a spit. The ink on my palm itched. Do not let them roll you onto your side. I acted. I didn't think because thinking would have added weight to the fear. I reached for the wires that did not reach me and dragged them through the air until they tangled like kelp around my hands. The bed kept turning. I pulled anyway. The blanket slipped. Cold hit my ribs. I kept my eyes slitted, lashes making the world a field of vertical rain. A shape leaned over me from the blackout window, its reflection stretched thin by the glass. The shape wore a mask with glossy oval lenses that turned my face into twin ghosts. Do you smell oranges? The kind voice asked, low enough that it could have been inside my head. I didn't. I smelled lemon and fear and my own breath warming the sheet. Good, the voice said. That means the air hasn't turned on you yet. Who are you? I whispered without moving my lips. The mask tilted, but the kind voice didn't come from it. Not who, when. Think of me as the version of you who didn't take the cash. I made it to the door. You didn't, so I left you notes. The bed stopped turning. The rain turned to television snow. There was no more pretending. The first voice returned, harder now. Restraint malfunction. Enter and correct. The door side open. Air pressed across my cheeks. A quiet proof that the window had always been a wall. A figure in scrubs stepped in, mask up, eyes down. His badge read Porter in block letters that wanted to be a name. He reached for the rail. I opened my eyes all the way and met his gaze.
Surprise flashed.
His hand froze on the metal. He hadn't expected me to be awake. I saw his decision travel from pupils to knuckles. He smiled without teeth. Easy, he said, voice soft enough to pass for mercy. Then he paused. He glanced at the blackout glass, like someone was watching from the other side and had stopped breathing. The smile drained. He pressed a finger to his lips, then to my palm, right over the faded ink. Don't fight the turn next time, he mouthed, exaggerating each syllable like a bad ventriloquist. Out loud he said, you look colder than the monitor says. He lifted the blanket to my shoulder and, hidden by the motion, slid a plastic card beneath it. I felt the ridges of a key card, warm from his hand, small as a breath. Porter, the badge said, but his eyes said something like, run when I turn my back. He tucked the blanket, regained the script, and patted the rail twice, brisk and clinical. Subject 12 stabilized, he announced toward the ceiling. He turned his back. I slid the card into my fist and kept my face a slack imitation of sleep. The door sighed again, sealing him out and the rules back in. The not me voice threaded my ear, breathless and close. Good. Left pocket in the lab coat hanging behind the chair, it said, not here, not now. Wait for the tone and count 3 breaths after oranges. My throat closed at the word. I didn't smell citrus. I smelled lemon and institutions. But the rain vanished a second time, and a softer track rose. Vent fans purring through gauze. I tasted pith on the back of my tongue, sudden and artificial, like memory sprayed into air. Breath 1, I thought, breath 2, breath 3. On the third, I rolled. The bed protested with a mechanical groan, but the rails weren't latched. My shoulder hit cold tile, wires tugged, alarms forgot to sound. I remembered the glued call button and felt stupid for ever believing in red plastic eyes. The blackout window showed me, which is to say it showed a camera pretending to be glass. A hairline seam framed the panel like a door that only opened for the right noise. The ridged card sweated in my fist. I slid to the floor on bare feet, away from the bed shadow and the lens-wide pupil. The door handle didn't have a slot. The wall did, knee-height, disguised as a maintenance plate. I scraped my knuckles until the plate flexed. The card kissed the hidden reader with a sound too small to be real. The blackout panel lifted an inch and breathed. Footsteps slapped the hall outside. A second set ran perpendicular. Subject 12 is off platform. The ceiling voice said, trading boredom for a burr of interest. Restraint team to Theta-Nine. A different, lower speaker whispered, 2 doors, left is cameras, right is air. I didn't trust voices, not anymore, but the card had come from a hand with fear behind the eyes. I chose right. The panel slid just enough for me to squeeze through and taste hospital dust. A maintenance corridor stretched ahead, ribs of conduit and numbered valves pulsing with quiet life. On the wall, a smeared handprint shone darker than the paint. It had written a word with its heel. Leave. I ran. Every step felt like I was trespassing in my own body. My heart kept time with distant doors slamming open. A turn, a ladder, a sign that said oxygen mix room in polite sans serif. I swiped. Green. The door released a breath that smelled like money and fear. Inside, tanks like dull whales, hoses like intestines, a control tablet blinking a warning. Atmos correction. Orange profile armed. Below it, a sticky note, taped crooked to the glass. My handwriting. 3 more lines. Do not vent here until you're holding your breath. Look up. Count screws. I looked. In the duct above the tablet, 1 screw was painted red. I held my breath and popped it with the corner of the card. The grate sagged enough to touch. I hit vent manual on the screen and watched the numbers tumble. A low hiss filled the room with what the screen called clean, which didn't smell like anything. I imagined oranges anyway and waited until the hiss stopped. Then I breathed. Boots thudded past the door without slowing. A radio voice fed them numbers, halls, acronyms that built a world where I was a coordinate. I climbed to the grate, hauled myself into the duct, and moved on elbows, a slow worm above a gut. The metal rang to my breathing and made me sound larger than I felt. Through a seam, I saw the observation bay. Glass monitors, faces like moons. One moon wore pale blue and lemon on her skin. The woman who had threaded the electrodes sat tight as a coiled spring. Her eyes flicked to the ceiling camera and back to her screen. A younger tech whispered he shouldn't be standing. No one answered. On a different monitor, my room showed an empty bed. They were watching the wrong feed or denying the right one. The kind voice returned, colored with urgency. Left at the junction, drop near the vending machines, then walk like you belong. Who's you? I breathed, the duct swallowing the word. Me and not me, the voice said. The part of us that learned the turns and sent them back. Time isn't a line in here. It's a loop with teeth. I chose not to understand and kept moving. The duct opened above a row of vending machines that offered sleep like candy. Melatonin gummies blinked beside earplugs and night masks, a shrine to consent. I dropped, knees bending, card clenched. A janitor rounded the corner, pushing a cart of lemon and lies. He saw me and saw what I was, wrong in the light. His mouth opened on instinct. His eyes closed on something like mercy. Go, he said, throat dry. Service exit, blue door. Then left, right, stairs, roof. Why, I asked because thanks felt useless. He stared at his gloves and said, because I don't sleep now.